just as this guy was saying that the problem was his partner, I don't know if she's the right partner for me, his partner isn't the problem. The lens through which he's seen his partner through is really the reflection of the way in which he's seen himself. His staff aren't the problem.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, what's happening, brother?
Why are you laughing?
Because I know how much you anticipate that, and you get so excited. I could picture you like a little kid jumping up and down, getting ready for me to make that announcement. But it's so true. You truly are embodying what it is to be a powerful man, and you walk the walk every single day. Even when you stumble, you're always moving forward. So it's a fitting accolade.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely wear my feelings on my sleeve a lot of the time, like yesterday on the marketing meeting. I had a face of thunder. I felt like telling everyone to just F off, and it came across that way. And
the best part when you say everybody was myself and Victor, who runs the digital marketing over for the agency.
Yeah, Darcy wasn't on, was she?
No,
awesome. So anyway, something I want to bring up with you, Doug, and I'd love to get your perspective on this. So I was just speaking to one of the men in the Brotherhood, this guy, phenomenal guy, and he was sharing with me how, he just spent a week away with his partner, and he had a great time, went to Egypt, saw the pyramids, they had a phenomenal time together. Yet, for some reason, he's still really unsure on whether she's the right one for him. Now, this came up in conversation alongside the fact that he is planning to take a month off his business in September. And in order for him to take a month off in September, a couple of pieces get to be put in place within his company. One of them, really, the main piece that gets to be put in place is around leadership, around him really speaking his voice and having his leadership be felt within the organization. Now, where I'm going with this is, as we were speaking and leading him through the coaching session this morning, what came out of it was the fact that the symptom, the gap that he was experiencing within his company, his staff not doing what they say they're going to do. In his words, you know what it's like, Tim? When the cat's away, the mice will play. And I found that really interesting that he said that. I was like, oh, interesting. But anyway, that kind of paints the picture as to what is going on in his business when he's not there. And then his relationship is questioning things as well. And in other areas of his life, he's feeling uncertain as well. And he's out of alignment with who he knows he is capable of being. And what it all came down to was the fact that he wasn't feeling like he was enough. And as a result, in him not feeling like he is enough, he's then looking at his partner through the eyes of not enough, and seeing all the flaws within her as well, and seeing all the ways that she could improve, because that's how he looks at himself. And then within his leadership team, he's then looking at all the ways in which they're not performing and the ways in which they could be improving, and the gaps there. And he's not speaking his voice there either, because he doesn't feel like he's enough. And he really got into this situation where it was almost a bit of a blame game. He wasn't victimizing. He wasn't going through any victimization at all. You know who he is. He's not that type of guy. However, he can sometimes get into the habit of thinking that these things, the problems that he experiences, are things outside of himself, when often the problems that any of us are experiencing in our life are a reflection of what is going on inside us, the emotions that we are feeling, and the beliefs that we have about ourselves.
Yeah, so I do know who you're talking about, because you told me right before we hit record. So I'm going to ask you some questions, because I know you've spoken to him. But what this is sounding like first, Tim, to me is an issue of leadership. And not only leadership within his business, right? Most of the men that listen to our podcast are business leaders, but also leadership in his personal life. Do you feel when you were talking to him that he's leading himself and I'll just say his family, for lack of a better term?
Define leadership in this context.
Well, leadership is multifaceted. One, it's walking the walk. Two, it's really giving clear expectations to your team and the people around you. 3 is holding a space, a container of energy. You know how that is, Tim, when a man walks into a room. Now, this could be this could be a skinny, short man, or it could be a giant of a man, but it doesn't matter. It's his energetic presence when he walks in the room. And we often say with the powerful man that your presence walks in and can be felt before you get into the room. Those are the things I'm thinking of when I say leadership right now.
Okay, well, no, I wouldn't. It doesn't hit all of those. The way in which he's falling down right now, and I'm sure he'll listen to this episode and he'll agree. And the way in which he's falling down right now is in the presence department. He's taking action, he's showing up, he's communicating with his team, but he's in the pattern and the cycle of hustling, right? And when he's in that cycle, he's tried, he's tried so many different strategies in the past. It's sleep fasting, sleeping for 20-minute segments. He's a real typical hustler, and he does it really well. If he can hustle well, this guy hustles well, like he gets stuff done. However, the flip side of that is that he always tells himself that he could be doing more, and he should be doing more, and he could be doing better. And because he's looked at himself and his progress through that lens and through that filter for so many decades, it's become his norm. And as a result, right now in the leadership department, is then feeding into him showing up with a presence that essentially has holes in it, because he doesn't feel like he is enough or his efforts are good enough. As a result, he's then got leaks in his bucket, right? And it's then showing up, like I said, in other people feeling that too.
Got it. Okay. Well, this is pretty common with business owners, right? So a business owner, they go into the workplace, they're frantic because, they're not leading their own lives properly. And I say properly, everybody's different, but I'm talking about, we talk about in the activation method and through our course teachings, is there certain ways you want to set up your day. You want to set up your day for success, and you set up, you're also setting up your week, your month, your quarter, your year, and you're able to roll into it. And through setting that up gives you freedom, gives you, optics and clarity. Now it's sounding to me like he's constantly pivoting and changing. He's going to hustle mode, which is a frantic energy. And as business owners, when we go in with that frantic energy, and this also applies to our significant others, long-term relationships and things like that. We go in with that frantic energy, it can be felt. We all know what that's like to be around someone who's very anxious. So we go in there, that the business owner feels like they're out of control. And when the business owner doesn't think they have control over their lives or over their business, that transmutes to everybody else around them, right? So everybody else around them is starting to feel this sense of unease, right? They're not being led or confidently led anyway. And they get a sense of unease of what's going to happen, what the future is going to be. If you look at this person, maybe their long-term relationship. If it's a woman, maybe we always talk about the hierarchy of needs. Oftentimes for women, one of the top hierarchy of needs is certainty, right? They want to be certain about the future, certain about safety. But if somebody is uncertain in their own lives and is frantic and what you were calling kind of a hustler, then that's going to provide a chink in the armor, right? That's going to be a dent in that relationship. It's going to be an energetic leak, so to speak. And that also applies to the workplace. And if he's leading that way in the workplace and he's doing this with a frantic energy, of course, nobody wants to be around that. So yeah, the mice will play when the cat's away, when the cat's abusing the mice, so to speak. I know this man. I know he's working on his leadership skills. I know certainly him in particular. He's not consciously doing this, but I know in the past that was the way he operated. And when you look at Tim at conventional media and the way business is supposed to be done versus the way it really works well, we look at shows and we look at these business owners or these jerks that are yelling and screaming at their employees, and of course the employees aren't going to have loyalty and they're going to leave. And when the business owner's gone, they are going to do whatever they want to do. Nobody likes being treated that way. And then the business owner ends up feeling empty inside, burnout, and eventually gets tired of the hustle and grind and feels, completely depleted. And that cycle gets shown, right? And we've talked about other cycles, and I'm going off on a tangent, but I'll bring it back. That cycle leads to excessive caffeine, then excessive alcohol to come down, or other drugs, vice versa. And then they need, kind of like a rehab phase. And you were talking about yesterday, your energy, but that's rare for you. But for some business owners, that's a norm. And then who wants to be around that? They don't know who they're going to get. It's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Who are we going to get every day in the workplace? So I'm not surprised that, if this is happening for him, what we're describing here, that he's getting that end result, right? He's getting that end result that as soon as he leaves, people are able to sigh a release, right? They're like, finally, now we can relax, and now we can go in our own flow, and get things done. And in particular, if he hasn't explained the things that need to get done, the why they need to get done, and associated that with his team's why, they're never going to do it. They're never going to buy in. And they're going to think, oh, why am I doing this checklist of systems when, at the end of the day, it's unnecessary. It's just extra work for me. And I think that might be what's applying in this case. And certainly when we talk about other business leaders, Tim, that you and I speak about, they often tiptoe around staff, right? They tiptoe around the issues until it boils up and then they explode. And that's not good for anybody.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this episode because I want to talk to you about something important. We put together a case study on how almost 300 men have taken control of their lives. They're 4Xing their business revenues, and they're having more connected and intimate sex, all without sacrificing their relationships or their health by using the activation method. Now, a lot of you have contacted us and you want to know how they're doing it. We put together this short 11-minute case study just for you, so you can see how these entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success. To get this case study, all you have to do is go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. Yep, that's 11. And you can get the case study right now. All right, it's only 11 minutes and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
No, and I think there's some of that going on within his company. However, the other side to this as well is the fact that, well, I'll introduce a different point here. The great thing about the position he's in is that he's very aware of what the root cause of all this is. With him going through the Alpha Reset, he's actually been through it a couple of times, and with him obviously working with us for quite some time, he's very aware of what is going on underneath this. Because when he described to me that, the life that he's living in 90 days, and more importantly, the man that he is in 90 days that is living that life, that has created that life, he spoke about an element of trust. He spoke about being able to let go, making bigger, bolder decisions in business, leading his people, developing leaders, leading with his heart being his compass, being a man of his word. So he described all these really great characteristics and some action items of how he shows up. On the flip side of that, what he was doing was he was being very guarded, very controlling, and he was very afraid. And what it comes down to there, because we both know that being guarded and being controlling are the symptom of being afraid. You're afraid, so you guard and control. And for him, what he was afraid of was being mediocre. He was afraid of losing the family business and being rejected. Yet, over the course of the previous several months, he's had some fantastic clearing conversations with his dad. So he has nothing to fear there, who started the business. He's had some fantastic clearing conversations with other members of his family. So he feels very loved and seen and supported there as well. So point being is, he's got to the root of a lot of this. And now it's really a case of him being able to stack the evidence and really look for the ways in which he is showing up in alignment with all those characteristics I just described. Because right now there's a gap, and that gap is in his leadership. Like you said at the start, is he leading? And when I say the gap is in his leadership, because he isn't feeling like enough, and because he is then controlling and being guarded, he isn't able to trust and let go. And that's when it's so easy, or I say it's so easy, we see it so often that business owners will then play the blame game and think that the reaction that they're getting from the people in their environment, whether it's their wife or their partner or their staff or their kids, that's the problem. Yet, just as this guy was saying that the problem was his partner, I don't know if she's the right partner for me, his partner isn't the problem. The lens through which he's seen his partner through is really the reflection of the way in which he's seen himself. His staff aren't the problem. The way in which they are being led is. So it's quite common that we see, and I've been guilty of it in the past as well, to get into this pattern of playing the blame game and thinking that it's everything outside of us that is the problem, when in reality, they're just the symptom and a reflection of what's going on within us. And when we're able to consider that, and granted, not every time it is, I get that. There's exceptions to the rule here. Yet it's whenever I and whenever we, Doug, encounter situations within the powerful man or even our personal lives, one of the things I like to think that I do, and I want to stand my ground. One of the things I do is I always like to take radical responsibility. So I'm always looking at, okay, how is this a reflection of what I'm doing? Where are the gaps in my own game here? Where do I get to improve? And sometimes, I really feel like I've done everything I can do. And what's actually showing up in this instance is actually, a problem with that person or with the situation that's outside of me. So, in that position, I'm more entitled to play the blame game, not from a victimization standpoint of, poor me, how can you do this to me? But from a standpoint of, hey, the problem's yours, it's not mine, and maybe it isn't the right partner, or maybe it's not the right person on the team, or maybe it isn't the right, friendship or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, the blame game, whenever frustration and anxiety kick in, they meet each other, the blame game gets triggered for most people. And we all do it. And, taking extreme ownership of yourself and your actions is obviously the solution here and of what he wants. And, for this gentleman here, I know you've talked to him recently. I know you talked to him today, actually. For his particular situation, it's similar to a lot of them. What makes it harder for him is he knows better, right? He knows what's possible for him because he's seen it. He's gone through an alpha reset. He's seen the other side. And so it's almost tougher for him because he knows what's possible, right? And he knows where he gets to take things to the next level. When we think about this blame game that people are playing and business owners are playing, when they're blaming other people outside of them, what we call it, Tim, is take care of your own side of the street first in any relationship, right? Let's take my wife, for example, or my employees outside of the powerful man, or whatever it is with the companies we do consulting with, right? Whenever I have an issue with somebody, I always want to look at, where did I fall short, if anywhere, on this, and how can I do it better, right? And that's what I want to look for. This doesn't excuse, if someone screws up, you got to call it out. You just do. There's certain ways of doing that effectively, but you also need to take ownership of your own self. Yesterday, as you just said, on the marketing meeting we had with the team, you weren't in the best of moods, but the truth was you were tired, right? You were exhausted because you had poured so much energy into a couple projects you were working on. You're getting ready right now, and actually, when this is going to come out, you'll be away. You'll be traveling right now for fun, right? You're actually going to be working with a bunch of high-end business owners and doing a masquerade ball and all these other things that you're going to be doing, which is awesome. So, you were getting things done and you were exhausted. And so instead of blaming everybody, you came to the meeting and you just called it out, said, look, here's what I'm feeling, here's where I'm at, and I take ownership of this. And you didn't blame anybody. And that's a totally different feeling, right? For somebody like myself, who was in that meeting, the recipient of that energy, you just kind of said, look, I'm owning my energy. I'm owning my space. I'm letting you guys all know it has nothing to do with you. Let's move forward. And that's a completely different energy rather than blaming everybody for little things that are going on. Because when you're in that energetic space of worry, frustration, and problems seem like they're not getting fixed, it's easy just to point fingers at other people and find small things that aren't working, right? Small things that are slipping through the cracks, and look at it and start blaming everybody, yelling at everybody, throwing up your hands like a little baby and running off crying. When in fact, we all have little things. It's easy to find the problems, right? It's just as easy to find the good stuff. And when you focus on the good, you get more of it in return. And so when we're not taking care of our own side of the street, like cleaning our own side of the street, we're focusing our energy pointing out everybody else. My girlfriend, maybe she's not the one, she's not good enough. Their staff aren't good enough, this, that, and the other. What it comes down to is the business owner, the man himself. And that's what I mean by leading yourself. You need to lead yourself, make sure you're doing the right things, tending to your own garden of your mind, so to speak, and making sure you're following that path.
I love it. Yeah, and this guy, once we got to the root of what the problem was, and he realized, and it's great because you see the aha moment, don't you? The penny drops, boom, and it's like, oh, it's this again. Because this is his common fear, his common insecurity that he's done a lot of work on, and he's got a lot of power, way more power over these days than he's ever had in the past. Yet, when he realized what it was, it's like, right, tell me what to do. Gets his journal out, wants to write all this list down. I'm like, just chill. Like, you're not going to push your way through this. You feeling like you're not enough and your efforts are never enough and you could always be doing more and you should always be doing better. You going and solving this and rushing through it is just the same energy that's created the problem in the first place. So I gave him some things to do, of course, a couple of items, and he said something really interesting. He said, "This is completely showing up in all areas of my life. Me not feeling like enough means I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that." And he started to reel off this whole list of things that right now he's not experiencing enough of. And he's not experiencing enough of those things because, again, it's a reflection of what's going on within him. And in that place of feeling essentially scarce and burnt out and spread thin, it's so easy, or it can be so easy, and it used to be so easy for me, to then want to look at other people as a problem. I mean, when people apply for the activation method Facebook community, they're asked 3 questions. And one of the questions is, what is the biggest problem you're struggling with right now? And at this point, these men are in a position whereby they feel very similar to the guy that we're speaking about right now, experiencing problems and struggles in business, in relationships, with their health. And they've not yet realized that, holy crap, it's me. I'm the one that's causing all this. So as a result, what they'll often say is the biggest problem is their staff, or their biggest problem is their marketing, or their biggest problem is their wife, or their biggest problem is, so on. It's always something outside of them, which is cool. It's where they're at in the journey. I get that. I was there too, and, you've been there, and we're all human beings, and we're all on our own paths and journeys. Yeah, I'm really excited for these men. When you're able to walk the path of a powerful man and really shift from being asleep to then being aware that it's me, and then being awake of here's what I'm actually capable of, it completely changes the game. And yeah, sure, this guy is experiencing a problem right now, and because he has done the work, it's much easier, and because he's got people around him, of course, being able to jump on a call and identify what the root of the problem is quickly, instead of it dragging on for weeks, days, months, years, whatever, allows him to be able to move through it quicker. And because he's already done the work and been through the practices, it means he's a lot more familiar with it. So it's going to weigh him down for less time. And he doesn't then ruin a relationship that, is, by all rights, a great relationship. He doesn't then sabotage his business, because often this turns into sabotage, doesn't it? And this is why people struggle to really have what it is they want, because they'll leave a relationship believing it's the partner, only to end up getting into another relationship or another marriage with a very similar dynamic. Or they'll get rid of that staff member, or they'll get rid of someone on their team or whatever it is, only to then end up in the same position, because it's got nothing to do with those people outside of them. And it requires you to be able to, you, me, the listener, whoever, to be able to do the work to really move through those stages of being asleep, aware, and then awake.
Ah, so true. So true. So Tim, in wrapping this up for any man that's listening to this that finds himself in a similar situation, what are a couple things that they can do right here, right now, moving forward to get to that next level of realization?
To get to the next level of realization. So if you are listening to this and you're realizing that you are experiencing some of these problems and the problem might be you, and let's just say it's in the area of relationship, then if you want to be in that relationship and you love the woman that you're with, or even the man that you're with, and you may have been projecting onto that person some of your own fears and insecurities, then I invite you to have a clearing conversation with that person and approach them and come clean with how it is you feel and how this has been influencing your behavior. I.e., I might go to Amelia and say, hey, Amelia, can I talk to you a moment? She'll say, yeah. I just want to let you know that I realize that my actions lately have been that seem to have been affecting you in this way, and it's got nothing to do with you. This is what I've been feeling. This is what I've been experiencing. And I realize that, explain what it is you realize, take complete ownership. Don't project anything onto them, of course. And obviously let them know what you're going to do moving forwards. If you don't know what you're going to do moving forwards, then my advice to you would be to definitely find out. Reach out to us, reach out to somebody, whatever it is, do something moving forwards if you are realizing it, but just to alleviate that burden that you've been placing on the relationship, alleviate it. Because often what happens is, when the men have done this in the past, when they first come into the activation method, it's the women in their life just breathe a complete sigh of relief, because they know this. They often know it anyway, and they're waiting for the penny to drop with us. And when you actually come clean and take ownership for the shortcomings and the ways in which your insecurities have been influencing the relationship, and you recognize that and also share that you're going to do something about it, that's where it starts to create a new dynamic in the relationship.
Absolutely beautiful. I love it, Tim, and you're so spot on. So gentlemen, if you find this for you, what I'd love to hear is your thoughts on your experience over in the Activation Group Facebook page. It's a free Facebook page and a community of men just like you, where our coaches are always sharing information as well. And let's continue the conversation there in kind of an overtime situation. Tim, thanks again as always, and have a fantastic trip, my friend.
Thank you.